what does it mean to be an American? Who determines who is an American? And what does citizenship mean? Yes, race is part of the big issue, but in the end, it's an issue of power, and an issue of class, an issue of human failing.
The inciting incident of Kaleidoscope is the murder of Trayvon Martin. The perspective of the show is basically aliens have come down to Earth and seen what happened with Trayvon.
It allows us to take a very objective, actually an extremely objective look at the history of race in America, and looking at all of these stories that can be really, really emotional and really volatile material to explore, and looking at it from a few steps back.
After 6 hours, death will stiffen the corpse because blood will no longer pulse and pump through it. This is called rigor mortis.
The show moves back and forth in time like a time machine. So it's almost as if the show was me going to Google the subject of race and going, oh, this looks interesting, I'm gonna look at this. So throughout the show, you're going back and forth in time at different, mostly historical events.
I never wanted to be here. All I wanted is to go home.
So I played a guy named Sidney Johnson, and he had gotten a fight with a white man that he was working for, a black guy, and he was a kid really, he was only like 18 maybe, and he ended up killing the guy out of self-defense, and he ran away, and so the people around in the city started just killing random black people and hanging them and lynching them. So you go from something like that to then I play a woman right before Abraham Lincoln has been elected, and she's a kind of posh and real up there. Then you go to Paul Robeson. So it's like just doing your work on all the different time periods and all the different characters and who they are, and making real distinctions between each one.
The crowd took to my body, unsexed it with the sharp knife, threw my amputated parts in front of my house, and tied the end of a rope around my neck.
Well, it was a commission by the University of Maryland, who approached me about doing a new project with them in 2013. And at that time, Trayvon Martin had just been shot. And I wanted to do something about Trayvon Martin and what that represented in American society. And then I decided to do something that was about looking at the history of black and white race history that could lead to Trayvon Martin. That Trayvon Martin shouldn't surprise any of us if you know America's race history. So that meant that I was going back and forth in time, looking at different examples, or what I call evidence, of how this could lead to Trayvon.
He's very articulate about what his vision is, which as a designer is a gift. Because this production has gone already, they've gone through it twice. It meant that Ping came to the table already knowing what the challenging moments design-wise in the production would be, what his outstanding questions about, moments that didn't really work and that he really wanted to focus on working through this go-round. And then was also very clear about, here are some things that really worked in our last 2 productions, and these are the elements I'd like to maintain. Let's talk about how to make it work in this space.
My work has a lot of media in it, and each of those elements takes time to get right.
When he's directing, he's always thinking more about kind of like the composition of what you're seeing on stage.
So what have you got? Have you been working on some new stuff for us here?
Yeah.
This is the effect at the top of the show. So at the top of the show, the aliens enter, and that's the effect that's happening.
After Effects is not being very nice right now, but...
So for example, the stars outside of the window are moving in, right? And the stars in the inside are moving out. You feel it, you know?
Ping, who comes from a bit more of a visual arts background, is trying to make it more as not just about the text that we're saying, although it is very important, but also the movement we do. There are some choreographed scenes, the sound. There's a lot of interesting sound happening.
Sound is really central to the way I work in the theater, and in this show, it's pretty wall-to-wall sound. So I love the motion that's in this. When the audience walks into the theater, there'll be a sound score. So we've got like tons of subwoofers in the front to sort of, again, I want that physiological effect on the audience.
At institutions like Wake, higher ed, and everyone's, super smart and all of that, people tend to, kind of want to hide behind ideologies and hide behind academics and kind of look at identity politics as something that lives in the academic sphere. Identity isn't something that just exists in your books and in the classroom, but it's something that, you can apply in your everyday life if you just really listen to what your fellow peers are saying.
And even though it's difficult, I think, to look back in history and see so many echoes of a past we thought we'd gotten past, revisiting things that have happened in history and revisiting the history of America helps us wrap our head around what's going on today, currently.
I'm not trying to solve anybody's problems. I'm trying to say, this is here, you need to deal with it. That's my job. My job is, this is real. Here's the evidence. You got to deal with it.